We are getting through it together. We are each and every day. We're taking it day by day. It's Thursday, March 26th. Yesterday was the deadliest day in the United States in terms of coronavirus deaths. Over 200 people died in the United States. Uh, Big spike in deaths. We see glimmers of good news out of New York, which is the epicenter in America for the coronavirus outbreak. Slightly less hospitalizations. They're starting to see a slight decrease in hospitalizations. On the other hand, do yourself a favor. Don't go online and read the New York Times or watch Bill de Blasio, the mayor of New York, in a press event. It is so dreary and bleak and grim and apocalyptic in the coverage of what's happening in New York City. And there's no doubt it's terrible there. But man, they're talking about building refrigerated morgues to store the bodies. They don't have room for the bodies. One hospital lost 13 people yesterday in one day in Queens. It's bad. There's no question it's bad. The question, of course, becomes how bad is it yet going to get? We have two, of course, points of emphasis that every American is fixated on: the health and the safety of Americans, which is primary, and of course, the enormous economic impact of essentially closing down the country for weeks, maybe months. So, with a lot of posturing and a lot of yelling and screaming and rhetoric, they passed unanimously in the Senate, the $2 trillion stimulus package. It's not really a stimulus package. I mean, it's called a stimulus package, I guess, officially. It really isn't. I mean, it seems to me that because this is a stunning amount of numbers, $2 trillion. It's not intended to stimulate growth. This is not stimulus. It's to offset the inevitable downturn. It's designed to try to prevent mass homelessness, people actually starving, not being able to get any kind of groceries, a wave of business closures happening. We haven't seen this since the Great Depression. So that's why the Senate vote was 96-0. I have to tell you, I'm a bit annoyed. Annoyed isn't the right word. I guess it's kind of what we're used to. All the rhetoric, the yelling, the screaming, this is terrible. The unemployment doesn't make sense because you can make more money on unemployment than you can if you were working. Lindsey Graham last night was on TV saying you're working your butt off in South Carolina for $15 an hour, but you'll get $23 an hour if you're on welfare, if you're on unemployment. I get it. I mean, for the record, Senator Graham voted for it. So evidently his concerns didn't prevent him from blocking it or trying to block it. And I'm glad. I'm relieved because I know millions of people now. The unemployment number just came out today. The weekly jobless number, oh boy, it's rough. It's rough. The U.S. weekly jobless claims have skyrocketed to a record-breaking 3.28 million Americans. It's actually not as high as I thought it was going to be. They were expecting 1.5 million. That was the record-breaking that ended March 21st. It has now tripled to 3.28 million people. So, what the stimulus package, if you want to call it that, what this bailout, what this is going to be, is seeing a whole lot of people who are afraid, who are anxious, who don't have food on their table, who are worried about food running out, who are trying to negotiate with their landlord. Landlords are in an awkward position. What are they supposed to do? Are landlords supposed to stop paying the mortgage? Will the bank stop collecting the mortgage payment? Not likely. So what are people supposed to do? Everybody's doing the best they can, including members of the Senate. I understand there's a lot of garbage in this, but yelling about it strikes me as the old man shaking his fist at the sky because it's raining. It's here. People are without work through no fault of their own. This is an unprecedented event in America. and I'll get the ball rolling. You may disagree, and understand something. If you disagree with me and you don't like this stimulus package and you don't like the pork that the Democrats baked into it, I get it. I promise. I'm not going to argue with you. You can express yourself any way you feel at 1-800-655-Mike. That's why we're here. And I'm trying harder than ever to listen even to opposing points of view on things that I fundamentally believe in. I fundamentally believe that we got to get ahead of this thing. I agree with staying home. I agree with minimal social contact. Many don't. Many think it's an overreaction. I agree with the government trying to step up and help as many people as possible. I get it. I understand the extra $600 in the unemployment checks because they have a hodgepodge of state systems, unemployment systems that are antiquated, and they can't have a unit. They don't have a federal or a nationalized way to do it, and they want to get as many people covered with unemployment or flat cash money as they can. So but I will absolutely understand your disagreement. It's okay. We can disagree without getting in each other's face. These are tough times, and I've been saying from the beginning of this thing, we're in this together as Americans. This is 9/11 in a way that probably 9/11 didn't even impact the rest of the country. We had about 3,000 deaths from 9/11. Horrific event. It brought the country to its knees. It hit us economically. It just does seem like this is going to be worse. We'll surpass 3,000 deaths here in the United States to coronavirus, and people are going to be out of work in a way that they were not out of work even after 9/11.